at that. There were more sounds of rustling papers, and I was pretty sure Frank was working on the sandwich. Sort of like dancing while tossing a ball around, I said, remembering the fiasco. And then we had to perform it for the rest of our class, only made worse by the fact that we shared the gym with a boys' class. If we'd been going for comedy, we'd have gotten an A. And those boys were doing the same thing? Frank asked. We're getting off the subject, but no, they did weightlifting. The school was doing a remodel of their gym, so we had to share ours. I could hear Frank chortling, and I wanted to change the subject. The point is, they are all settled in their lives, and I'm sure they're going to be all judgy of me. Wow, Feldstein. I always thought of you as being someone who didn't care what people thought. Well, I don't most of the time, but this time I do. I'm surprised you called me about this. Isn't this the kind of thing you talk over with your girlfriends? I would, but one of them owns the restaurant I make desserts for. She's kind of my boss, and I don't want it to sound like I'm upset with my life. She could take it wrong. And the other one is one of my retreat helpers. And you don't want to blow your image. I get it. Frank cleared his throat. Thanks to being a PI for a long time, I've become a student of human nature. You think those friends of yours from college have such perfect lives. I doubt it. I bet they have dark secrets and messed up pasts that you know nothing about. What's the big problem with your life anyway? I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not married. If I hadn't inherited my aunt's house along with her yarn retreat business, I wouldn't be able to get by. Even so, it only works by cobbling together the income from making desserts for the Blue Door and baking muffins for the coffee spots in town, along with the yarn retreats. I stopped myself. Oh no, I sound so whiny. My thoughts exactly, Feldstein. Get yourself together. I'm telling you, you'll find out that bunch isn't so perfect after all. Now, some of us have to get back to work. I have to go to the Drake for high tea and see who shows up with who. He seemed about to hang up when he said, Did your group have a name? Sort of. We called ourselves the Ballerinas, I said quickly. I heard him let out a real laugh. If you and the girls decide to recreate that thing with the balls, send photos, or better yet, a video. I got to see that. I held in a chuckle at the idea of him doing a surveillance of the posh hotel's very formal high tea. Frank was pretty rough around the edges, and I couldn't quite see him nibbling on finger sandwiches and sipping tea. Casey Feldstein, signing off, I said, giving a mock salute before clicking off the cordless. The call had made me feel only slightly better. Frank was probably right. My former teammates only seemed to be living perfect lives. Still, I regretted agreeing to put on the retreat reunion, as we were calling it. If only I hadn't been so all over the place, I might be more settled now. I went over my past in my mind. I'd discovered after a semester of law school that it wasn't for me. I'd tried teaching, and had worked as a permanent substitute at a private elementary school. But after a couple of years, I was ready to move on. I'd been the dessert chef at a small bistro that unfortunately went out of business, though it had definitely helped me hone my skills at making sweets. The temp jobs had at least offered variety. I'd spritzed perfume on shoppers in a department store, handed out samples of chewing gum on downtown Chicago street corners. There had been stints at offices, but the only one I'd really liked was the time I spent working with Frank. It had only lasted a short time due to his lack of finances, but he'd said I had a real knack for getting information from people. I had ended up in Cadbury by the Sea thanks to my aunt. I was faced with moving back in with my parents, both doctors, when she'd made the offer of her guest house. The idea of a fresh start in a town where nobody knew me was impossible to pass up. She'd also been the one to help me line up the baking jobs.